Welcome to CertMaster. What if your boss asks you to rename all these folders, these files, and reorder this file into their respective folder? What are you going to do? I believe the first thing comes up to your mind is to click the folder, right-click it, and press the rename button. No, stop, please, seriously. Let's help you to deploy a robot to complete this task so that you can leave your office as early as possible. Okay, let's start building the robot. In order to visualize the robot's logic better, let us use flowchart to visualize it. Let us search flowchart in this activity pane, and this is the one we need. Let's drag it here. Okay, because our robot is going to handle three functions. The first one is going to rename folders, the second one is going to rename files, and the last one is going to reorder all the files into their respective folder. So let's separate this robot into three sections. The first one is going to rename folders, the second one is going to rename files, and the third one is going to reorder these files into respective folders. Hence, for this one, let us handle the folder section first. So let us call it flowchart-rename folders. We are ready to build the details of this flowchart. So let us get into it. Since we are going to rename all folders in one folder, instead of selecting folders one by one, I think we have a better approach is to loop through all the folders in that folder. In our case, instead of selecting these three folders one by one, I think we can instruct the robot to loop through all these folders under folder documents. In order to achieve this objective in UiPath, we can deploy an activity called for each folder in folder. This is the activity we need. Let us drag it here. We can find that we have a lot of properties for this activity. Let us go through all these activities one by one. For the first option for each here, this field holds the name used to reference to the folder being processed. I think this current folder, this name is pretty straightforward. So let's just keep it as current folder for now. Next option, in folder. This field here, we have to put in the path of the folder holding folders that we want to process. For our case, since our folders, these three, reside in folder domains. So let's copy domains and paste it in this field. Next option, this includes subfolders. If there are subfolders in a folder that we want to process, we can check this include subfolders action. On the other hand, if we do not have any subfolders we want to process, we can just uncheck this option. For our case, because we do not have any subfolders in these three folders, so we can just uncheck this option. Next option, skip folders where access is denied. If there are some folders that you disallow anyone to access it and you want the robot to skip these folders, you can just check this option. Otherwise, you can just uncheck it. Next option, filter by name. If you want to process a certain type of folders only, you can instruct the robot to do so by putting a regular expression in this field. Lastly, you can sort folders by picking one of the options here, order by. Great, we have finished the configuration of this for each folder in folder activity. We can move on to build the rename function for all those folders. So let's put in another flow chart here. Because we are going to complete the rename folder function in this flowchart. So let us rename this flowchart as flowchart-rename folders. We are going to put in other activities here in order to complete this rename folders function. The first function we need is to determine if the folder being processed has been named according to the standard or not. For example, this one, class A. It has been named according to the policy we want, so we don't have to rename this one. On the other hand, these two, class B and class C, they do not follow the policy we want, so we have to rename this too. And now let's start building this function. In order to complete what we just said, we can deploy an activity called IsMatch. This one. Let's just drag it here. Let's expand this pane. Go through all these properties together. The first one, input. Here, it refers to the text going to be processed. For our case, it is the folder name. Hence, we can put in current folder dot name. This one. There's another easier approach. That is, you can click this plus option, and you will see the current folder here, and then you can just put your mouse over the current folder, and you can pick one of these three options. We need the name, so we can just click the name here. We get the same result. Next one, the pattern here. The pattern here means the text pattern that we want to search. Hence, we can put in regular expression here. The pattern we want to search is something like this. A digit, a dot, a space, class with capital C, another space, and the capital character from A to Z. So we can put in a regular expression like this. We need digit. It can be 1, 2, or more than that. So we can just put in a plus sign here, a dot, a space, a word class with capital C, L-A-S-S, another space, and then we want a capital character from A to Z. So we can just put in regular expression like this. We have to include it in the double quote because we have to put in a string here. So this is our pattern to search for. Lastly, this IsMatch activity provides a lot of regular expression options here. By default, it enables ignore case and compound. Because our case is case sensitive, we need capital A, capital C, and this class needs to be in capital C as well. So we have to disable this ignore case option. Next one, the last one, result. The result here means the result of the matching, whether the input string matches the pattern we want or not. So it is either true or false. That means this is a boolean, so we have to store the result in a boolean variable. We've created all the variables at the beginning of this video. We are going to make another video to explain how we can declare variable, how we can pick the variable type here. So for now, let us just put in the variable we declared, the variable match, to store the result here. Okay, great. We have completed the configuration of this IsMatch activity. We are good to move on to the next activity. The next step is to tell the robot whether it needs to rename the folder or not based on the IsMatch activity's result. If the folder needs to be renamed, then rename it. Otherwise, just skip it. Basically, it is like an if-else statement. Yet, because we are using a flowchart here, the if-else statement for flowchart calls flow decision. This one. This is the activity we need, so let us just drag it here. Okay. Unlike the IsMatch activity, the flow decision only has one property that we need to handle. So let us go through this property together. This field condition, it stands for the judging factor. For this case, the judging factor is the result of this IsMatch activity, that is, this result here. So let us put in the variable match in this field. Okay. If the folder already named after the pattern we need, then we don't have to rename it. Hence, we can skip the true condition. On the other hand, for folders do not follow the pattern we need, we have to tell the robot that these folders should be renamed. In this scenario, that is the false path here. So let us complete the false path together. The first thing we have to do is to extract the index from the folder being processed. For example, this folder, we have to extract the 1 here. This folder, we have to extract the 2 here. In order to achieve this, we can deploy an activity called matches. This one, let's drag it here. And then before we are going to go through all these properties, let us connect this false path and the matches activity first. This means if the folder is going to be need to be processed, the robot is going to go from this path to this activity. That is, this matches is the first thing the robot is going to do for those folder which needs to be renamed. Okay, now let us go through these properties together. The first property input here, just like the previous one, this one in the IsMatch activity, it also means the text that is going to be processed. However, unlike the previous one, we cannot just put in current folder dot name here, because let's say we have input like this one space one dot space class A. Since we are now going to extract the digit, the folder index, that is this to 1 from the folder name, yet this space is going to affect the result. That's why we need to handle all this space first. We have to replace all the space with a empty string in order to remove the space from the folder name, like this. In order to achieve what we just said, let's just remove this example first. The first thing we have to put in is still we need the current folder dot name, but that is not all. We have to replace all spaces with an empty string, right? So we have to put in the function replace. Now we have to tell the robot what the robot should replace. It needs to replace a space, right? So we have to put in a space here. Then we have to tell it what the space need to be replaced with. We want it to replace it with an empty string, so let us just put in an empty string here. This is the input for this field here. Great, we can go to the next property, that is the pattern here. This pattern here, just like the previous one, it refers to the pattern that we want the robot to search for. For this activity, in our case, we want the robot to search for the folder index and then the dot. So here we can put in, we want it to look for a digit, that is the D, and because it can have one or more than one digit, so we have to put in a plus here, and then we want it to look for a dot sign, so we can put in a dot here. And this is the pattern that we need the robot to search for this specific activity. Next one, we can go to the redress option. Just like the previous one, the redress option here, it provides a lot of regular expression options. But because right now we are looking for the digit, it is case sensitive, so we can live with the default option here. This is all good. Let's go to the last property here, that is the result. The result here means the portion of the string that matches the pattern we need. We have to store it in the variable. Yet, unlike the previous one, this one, the IsMatch activity, this result here is a variable which is in type collection. So we just have to put in a variable which is with the type collection. That is this one here. So let us copy this one. Let us paste it here. This is all for this matches activity. We are good to go to the next activity. Next thing we have to do is to extract the last character from the folder name and convert it to uppercase. For example, this A here, because it is already in uppercase, we don't have to convert it, but we have to extract it. This B here, we have to extract it and convert it to uppercase B like this. And the same we have to do with this class C folder. Okay, let's complete this function together. In order to complete what we just said, we need another activity, that is assign. This is the one we need. Let's drag it here. Right-hand side of the assign activity means the value to save. Left-hand side of the assign activity means the variable that is going to hold the value to save. Let us complete right-hand side together first. For the right-hand side, we have to extract the last character from the folder that is being processed. So the first thing we have to do is to get the name of the current folder. So we need the current folder.name. Then, because we are looking for the last character from the name of the current folder being processed, basically we are looking for a substring in a string. So we can use the substring function. Then, because the last character is always at the last place of the current folder.name, so the index will be the last index of the current string. And because the first index is 0, so we can get the last index by current folder.name.length minus 1. And lastly, because we only want the last character, so we only need one character from this, starting from this position. So we can put in a 1 here. This will be how we can get the last character from the current folder.name. Left-hand side, we need to put in the variable that is going to hold this value. The variable that is going to hold this value is variable underscore class. So we can pick this one. Okay. Great. We have completed this function now. We can move on to the next one. Next thing we have to do is to create the new folder name. So we need another assign activity. This is the one we need. Let us drag it here. Okay, let us handle right-hand side first. For the right-hand side, before we start generating the new folder name, let us check what we have for now. Firstly, we have the folder index with a dot here. This value stored in the variable meshed collection. Secondly, we have the last character of the current folder name, which is stored in the variable class. So, in order to generate the new folder name, the first thing we have to do is to get the folder index first. So we can get the folder index by putting variable mesh collection, because this is a collection, and we have to tell the robot the position of the value it needs to look for, because the value store at the first place in this collection and the index is 0, so we can put in 0 here. Then we need to change it to a value by putting dot value. Secondly, we have to get the class with the capital C, so we can just put in a space here and the capital C, then LASS and another space. Lastly, we can get the last character of the current folder name by putting variable class. Because we want to convert it to uppercase, so we can put in dot to upper here. Okay. We have completed the new folder name generation. This is what we need. Lastly, we need a variable to store this value. Variable that is going to store the value will be variable new folder name. So we can just put in variable new folder name on the left-hand side. Now we have completed the new folder name generation function. We are good to go to the last step. The last thing we have to do is to instruct the robot to rename the folder being processed. In order to do so, we can deploy another activity, rename folder. This one, let us drag it here. There are two properties for this activity. The first one, folder, It refers to the full path of the folder being processed. If you want the full path of the folder, you can type it manually. We can put in current folder dot full name. If you don't want to do it manually, you can press the plus button here, put your mouse over current folder, this option, and then click full path here. Secondly, for this new name, this field, it refers to the new name of the folder. In the last step, we generate the new name and store in store the new name in the variable new folder name. So we can just copy this variable and paste it here. Okay, now we have completed this activity and we have completed this whole rename folder function. Let us give it a try. Let me execute the robot and check out the result. Guys, the robot already completed the renaming of these 3 folders, and it only took less than 1 second to do it. Think about it. If your boss asks you to do it manually, how long does it take for you to complete it? And how long does it take for this robot to rename these 3 folders? In the next video, we are going to build a function to rename all these files. Please like and subscribe our channel if you find this video helpful and want to learn more RPA skills. Also, comment below to let me know if you think RPA is going to help you to make your life easier. More importantly, comment below to let me know if there are any tasks you want to automate. Let us help you.